Hey guys, I thought I'd make another video discussing some old IndyCar diecast. So what you see before you is the line of 1997 Hot Wheels IndyCar diecast. These are all made by Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels got back into the racing diecast scene in 1997 as part of their sponsorship deal with Kyle Petty on the NASCAR side of things. They sponsored his number 44 car for like the whole season. And so in addition to that, they made a whole new NASCAR line, and they bought part of the IndyCar contract. So Racing Champions, which was the one making the CART Diecast for the last couple years before that, moved a little bit aside. They made a reduced number of diecasts. They still made a number of cars, but they let Hot Wheels kind of take on the main portion. And so Hot Wheels did what they did. They made two separate lines of IndyCar diecast this year. They made the adult collectors type line, which is the first line you see in front of you, which have rubber tires, more accurate graphics, kind of more of a better mold. Just like kind of higher quality overall. And then they made a kind of a kid-friendly line, which had, plastic tires and is a lot more durable. You see like kind of bulkier in a lot of areas compared to the other one, and was able to roll better as in a way to, play on like Hot Wheels tracks and stuff. So they made two separate lines, and overall they covered, I think 10 of the 10 cars. There was some overlap between the original and the new one. I mean, between the adult collectors and the kids line, as you can see with the Jill DeFerrin car. It was made in both lines, and that happened with a couple of other cars. So I don't have all of them. There are a couple that are really hard to find nowadays, like the Patrick Carpentier and the Max Pappas ones. So still working on that. But out of the ones that I have right now, I just wanted to talk about them because I feel like these ones are extremely high quality. So we'll start off with the collector's line. First up, we got Mark Blundell's 1997 PacWest Racing Mercedes. This is the Reynard chassis. So Hot Wheels made three different chassis types across the thing. Within the premium line, they made the Reynard, which you can see from these little winglets on the rear of the barge board. They made that Reynard chassis, and they also made the Swift chassis, which they used for the Newman Haas cars, which is accurate. And then within the kids line, they made both the Reynard, like this one, with those same like winglets and stuff, and then the Lola chassis, which you can see has separate wings on the back of the car. And a different kind of frame. So this is a Reynard. It's got Firestone tires. Looks really nice. I think this was year, I think Mark Blundell won, I want to say 3 races. So a very good year for his career. This car just looks very nice. The PacWest Racing cars had like aligned liveries. So his teammate Mauricio Gugelmin would have a red center with blue lines on the back, and I believe sponsorship from Hollywood Cigarettes. So yeah, that's a very cool one. The next one, this is the only mold which was made for the road course package. The rest are all oval package ones. This is Michael Andretti's 1997 Swift with a Ford engine and Goodyear tires for the Newman Haas racing team, which Andretti was part of for a long while. And you can see just, this is, in my opinion, one of the cooler IndyCar diecasts you'll ever see, just in terms of the like detailing. You can see the different kind of rear winglets on the Swift chassis comparatively. It's got these little things on the inside too. You can see the bottom of it. Yeah, so they made that. And then they also used that mold for his teammate, Christian Fittipaldi. Obviously, on the side of this car would have been Budweiser, but you can't put that on there for licensing reasons. So they left it blank, left it with the Kmart logos it already had. This car also looks very, very pretty in red. Goodyear tires in the Ford engine. Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing about all of these is how like good these castings are, and then they were just simply kind of never used again. Like the adult line, I believe, was created in 1998 after the 97 season had ended, but the kids line was made during the year. Yeah, and then the next one we got up is Andre Ribeiro's 1997. I think this is a Tasman racing car. It's a Reynard with a Honda engine and Firestone tires. I really think that the way they did the tires for these cars is extremely like detailed and accurate. Just the way the tire kind of bulges out from the side and doesn't just sit parallel with the wheel rim is very, very cool. It's nice that they were able to get that level of detail onto this car. So that's very pretty. Then you have the 1997 champion, Alex Zanardi. This was his Chip Ganassi Honda, also a Reynard. Yeah, with chrome rims, it looks very nice with the Firestone tires. The old IndyCar, or the CART aero packages where the wings kind of pointed down were pretty cool, I'd say. That whole era of racing is very cool to me. Yeah, so that's that. And the last adult line one that I have is this, which is Gil DeFerrin's 1997 Walker Racing car. I forget if he ended up winning. I think he got a bunch of podiums this year, but never actually won. Goodyear tires on it, Honda engine. Unfortunately, with this one, the rear, like the whole thing was kind of offset when I got it, so I had to do a bunch of jerry rigging, but the wing is still a little bit loose on that. But yeah, also a very cool car. So then moving into the kids line, so these are the ones that are with plastic rims and stuff. You can see already that they are much larger compared to their adult collector's line kind of counterparts. They're just longer, wider, kind of, I think, a little bit more structurally integrity. So this one, which I think looks very nice, is Richie Hearn's De La Pena Motorsports number 21. This is a Ford with a Lola chassis, so you can see the difference between a Reynard and a Lola chassis in those winglets back there on the rear, and then also with the rear wing shape. And from a side-on view, you can kind of see that the cockpit on the Lola is a little bit further forward almost. So yeah, some subtle differences there with the different chassis. Sponsorship from Rouse. Hearn was kind of a back marker this year, but this was still a very nice car to get made. And yeah, the wheels roll a lot better than the plastic ones. Next one is Brian Herta, his Team Ray Hall number 8 Ford with a Reynard chassis. Also got Firestone tires. The whole Rahal team kind of had a weird year. There was that incident where Herta was leading at I want to say Vancouver, maybe, or maybe that must have been Toronto, where Herta was leading, and Alex Zanardi was trying to unlap himself and took Herta out of the race. And there was also the race that earlier that year where Bobby Rahal almost won but ran out of fuel with 2 laps to go. But yeah, this car, classic. Brian Herta carried Shell around with him in the late 90s. Yeah, very pretty car. Looks nice. Not a lot of side sponsors on this one, comparatively. And then we have, finally, Gil DeFerrin's 1997 Honda Reynard again. Walker Racing. I believe they had Valvoline sponsorship but maybe they couldn't put that on the car, or maybe this was just the design that they got from Walker Racing that they wanted to send in. Yeah, pretty car. So those are the ones I have. Obviously there's more. Interesting story about the Ribeiro diecast. So like I mentioned, in 1997 was when the kids line was made, and Ribeiro's car was included in the kids line, and it had the Lola chassis mold like this one. And that was accurate because at the start of 1997, Ribeiro was using Lola chassis. However, midway season, he switched to Reynard's. And so after the season ended, when Hot Wheels made the Pro line, they switched his diecast to the Reynard chassis also, which may be one of the only documented like chassis changes in diecast history or something like that. So that is a very cool detail about the Ribeiro car. And like I mentioned, there are a couple other of the Pro line cars that I do not have that I'm trying to eventually figure out. But yeah, the crazy thing to me is just how good these molds are, how pretty these cars came out, only for them to never be used again. Hot Wheels hasn't touched these molds at all, except once. So this right here is a McDonald's Happy Meal toy. In 1999, McDonald's and Hot Wheels made a Happy Meal toy line that was like all the main motorsports. Like what they did is they made a current like car from that championship. So they made like a current NASCAR and a current Indy car and a current F1 car. And then they took some creative liberties and designed a whole future mold for each of those cars. But this is, and actually with the IndyCar one, they actually predicted the aero screen, which was pretty interesting. But this is the current championship car for the 1999 one. And as you can see, it's like the Reynard, but it's got some really weird differences in chassis. So if we compare it to the Brian Herta car, which is also a Reynard chassis, you can see the first detail is that there is no lettering on the wheels. I'm not sure why they took that off. Oh, by the way, this is Scott Pruitt's 1999 Toyota Reynard, and you can also see that there's some differences to the winglets themselves. But there's just some other like weird stuff, like the front wing is thicker, the kind of nose is thicker. You can see that the rear wing kind of stands off a little bit more. Very notably, they took off this the rear dorsal fin, which I think is kind of accurate. Those rear dorsal fins kind of started to die out over that. Another weird thing is the placement of the rivets on the bottom. You can see on the Rahal car there, the rear one is in the center, whereas the rear one on the Scott Pruitt car is all the way on the rear wing. So it's very interesting that they chose to revive this mold, but change it so significantly for just for this Happy Meals one. And the decals are all stickers and stuff. Yeah, but one last kind of hurrah of that mold came in 1999. Then Hot Wheels kind of gave up on IndyCar for a while. They bought back in 2012. They purchased the licensing to make a mold of that, and they made I believe 5 or 6 cars from that year's championship. And then after that, it was back to Greenlight Diecast. So Hot Wheels has not been seen since in the IndyCar world. But yeah, just wanted to share because I thought these cars are very extremely cool, and I wish they got more of an opportunity than just the 10 or so cars that you see before you. So that's all. See ya.